as far as I know, no elected politician in the United States has ever agreed with me, has ever agreed that the United States ought to aspire to gasoline prices similar to those that the Europeans and the Japanese pay, and they pay 2.5 to 3 times as much per gallon as we do. 2 points on this. First, obviously the transition away from gasoline is a long one. It's a multi-decade process, but as the saying goes, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. And if the United States were to raise the price of gasoline dramatically, this would have 2 effects. One is conservation. We'd use less. Public transport would be more widely used. But second, and most importantly, we would get substitution. We would begin to switch to other sources of power, other fuels, because they would be commercially viable. Ethanol would be viable. The public would demand energy-efficient automobiles. Detroit and Nagoya and other places would start to make them. There would be a lot of investment in battery technology, which means that electrically powered cars would become more feasible. And I believe that the process of innovation will be most productive in the United States. You might say, well, if all this is going to happen, why hasn't it happened in Europe and Japan? And the answer is, I believe that first, their markets are not as big, and second, they don't have the culture of innovation that we do. If anybody's going to build an electric car, it's going to be the United States. Now, the Chinese don't agree, and they're putting a lot of money into electric cars, and I hope ambivalently that they're successful, but I think it really requires the kind of economic ecosystem that the United States has. So you're quite right that if the public were to be wise enough to come to agree with me, and there's certainly no sign of that, we would have a gradual transition, although once American consumption began to decline, it might actually decline rapidly, and although we would still have to import gasoline, it would tilt the balance of power between us and the oil exporters back toward us, and I think would have a political effect.